Okay, so now that you had some practice using one-point perspective, it's time to start our first project working with it. So what we're going to do is create the illusion of space through drawing some shapes floating in a room, a space, anything like that. So to begin this, I'm going to start by placing my vanishing point. I can place it anywhere in this space. I recommend near the center. It's just going to be a little bit easier to work with that way. But really, you can place it anywhere you like. And then what I'm going to do is draw a series of shapes, between 5 and 10 shapes, or more if you're feeling up to the challenge, surrounding my vanishing point. And they can be as simple or as complex as you like. So I'm just going to draw a variety here to give you an idea of the range. But you're probably going to want to choose something to unify them all, right? So you can do, some squares, rectangles, triangles, which are your basic geometric shapes, shapes that have names and rules, even circles. So I'll show you how to do a circle in perspective. Or you can make up your own shapes. The more edges you have, the more complex the shape is, but you can make up your own free-form or organic shapes. Maybe those shapes even start to look like something. Right? Like this one's slightly reminiscent of a bunny, right? And that also gives you the idea of what if I had shapes that are referencing something else? What if I was, doing shapes for all the superhero logos, or maybe all the Lucky Charms, or weather, or any number of different things. So the shapes could all relate to themselves. But what you see is I'm spacing my shapes out. Right now I have 7 different shapes away from the vanishing point, so I have some room to work. They're not necessarily on top of each other, but I can put shapes in front of one another. I'll show you how to deal with that as well. So, and I filled the page, right? There's some empty spaces. I can add more shapes back here if I want to. Whatever it is I'm drawing. So take a moment before you start drawing your shapes to kind of brainstorm and think, what do I want it to look like? Is there a theme? Is there something I want to have unifying all my shapes? Well, you should have some sort of unity between all of your shapes, but what sort of challenge are you going to take with this? If you're not feeling overly confident about the process, keep it simple, right? Use some basic geometric shapes. If you're feeling bold and you think you can handle the challenge, add some more complex ones. It's up to you. Even hearts, right? All sorts of things. You could do letters, right? What if you want to do like a name or something else floating in space, like the letter T, anything, right? I've got a whole bunch. Once you have all your shapes figured out, what you're going to do is start drawing the corners of the sides facing the vanishing point to the vanishing point. Remember to place your ruler carefully, line it up, hold your ruler securely so it does not move while you're drawing the line, and keep your pencil vertical so the line goes where you want it and doesn't slip underneath the ruler. Okay, so for this square, only this edge is visible. All the other sides are not. I can't connect them to the vanishing point, so there's no reason to draw a line. If you're not sure, just check it with the ruler, all right? So you can always check it. So I'm just going to go through and start connecting all my lines. Sometimes there's inside corners, like the inside of that T, right? And then we run into something else. This corner of the T is going to have a line coming off it. It's going to go to the vanishing point. But what's going to happen is when I hit something else, I stop. Right? So I make sure this line is pointed at the vanishing point. But when I hit the inside of the leg of the T here, I stopped. That's because I want this line to look like it's going there. My mind will complete the direction. It can tell. If I put it in a different direction, my mind would be like, that looks a little bit off, right? So I always want to make sure everything is set up to the vanishing point, even if it doesn't make it all the way there. Even if it needs to stop because something else gets in the way. And that's going to be the basic rule. If something else gets in the way, you're going to stop. Now, I have a curve here. And the way to deal with a curve is I'll place my pencil on the vanishing point and I'll spin the ruler in from the outside. And as soon as it makes contact with that curve, that's where my line is going to go. So here I'm spinning it from the outside of the curve, right? Because the curve is going this way, so I'm coming from the other direction. And it's going to make contact right there, and that's where my line's going to go. Right? So I'm just going to continue adding more lines. This one here, watch this. I line it up for the vanishing point. The triangle is in the way, so I stop. I even have a little sliver back here that's going to be visible. It's only going to be that little triangle part. Right? Those little details do matter. Like I know my eye will pick them out. Other people might be more sensitive to those, so keep an eye out for those little details. Again, with the curve for the circle, I'm going to spin from the outside. As soon as I make contact, that's where the line goes, but it's also hitting the T, so I'm going to stop. I have to come from the other side to get the other side of the circle. Nope, something's in the way over here. Block in there. Any curve, you can do that for. That's going to have a line right there. This bunny is going to hit the top of the T, so I'm not going to have that. And now I'm just continuing to add all these lines. I like to draw all of my perspective lines before cutting the shapes off. Some people like to do one at a time. It's going to be up to you. It depends on how well you're able to read all these lines. I know a lot of these lines can get confusing, and you might start losing track of what's what. So if you need to take it step by step in a different direction, that's fine. And as you're going, try to line up as close to that dot as you can. Some people end up being a little bit careless about going to the vanishing point, and you end up with this just mass of crossing lines, and it gets really messy and things don't look neat. So that's a little bit off. I'm kind of going fast. It's not as neat as I would like it, but it is pretty close to being right on the dot, right? Like pinpoint. This zigzaggy shape I have over here has a lot of inside corners, right? So it's a cool shape, but it is a lot of lines. It will look really cool when it's done, but a little bit work. All right, and just this last one, this crescent moon over here for my Lucky Charm inspired one. This one's going to have a line on the inside there, and then just another little sliver from the outside here. Maybe I'm doing flags. Maybe it's the flag of a country. I don't know. There's all sorts of different ideas. So right now it looks like everything's exploding out of that center, right? Everything's zooming out, which is cool. That's a pretty cool effect. And I could leave it like this, and then I'd have a one-point perspective drawing. But our next step is to challenge ourselves a little bit more and to cut these shapes off so they're really floating and not connected to anything. Right? So if you remember from the practice, or even from back from graffiti, your job is to take this line of the edge, and whenever you're going to cut it off, you're just going to put that same parallel line wherever you're going to cut it off. So there I took my pencil and I went over it to kind of train my hand. So that way when I went over here, I had the muscle memory and I had that movement and I could get that angle, right? And that's pretty simple for that cue. Now, again, I could leave all these lines in until I'm done and then erase them, but if I'm worried that's going to confuse me, I can remove them as I go. There you see I have flying cube. Right? So I'm just taking this edge of the side that's coming off the shape, and wherever it's going to end, I'm just matching it. Right? So that's an angle there, That's an angle here. With a slight little curve at the end, so I give it a slight little curve at the end. That is the end of my shape. I can darken the lines I want to keep, erase the lines I don't want to keep. The construction lines, those are not a part of my finished drawing. That's it. The ruler is also very helpful here. Right? If you have a straight line here, and let's say I want to end this, I'm going to make it I don't know, end it right there. It's up to me where I end it. See what I did? I matched the angle, I slid the ruler horizontally, and drew in my shape. So that is the next step, is going around and ending all your shapes, wherever you want them to end. There are some that are a little bit more confusing. So like here, how would I know where to end it? What I can do is take this distance, and I want to go the same distance away, right? So I just want to kind of measure and be like, all right, that's how thick it is. So I can keep that same thickness all the way around. So I can borrow that little piece of information from over here and use it to tell me where to go over there. Curve on that side, so wherever I cut it, I want to try and match that curve. The more accurately I can match this section of curve, the more 3D it's going to look. Oh, that's a part of the T right there, so I got to be careful. T, that's an angle, so that's going to be a little angle there. It turns up, it turns up. Make sure that you're connecting, right? Sometimes people will put lines and they'll separate them. These two are connected at that corner, so these two have to be connected at the corner, right? And at this corner it turns, so at this corner it's going to turn. So it's that same whole section of line. You can't just put pieces in random places. It won't make sense. Okay. Let's see, following the idea of thickness. Nope, I would not see the other side of T. Bunny, curve there. Bring it down. That's a little bit lower, so I'm going to curve there. And it curves out. And then this little tail is up a little bit. You see this little jump here? I'm going to move that up just a little bit. So there are times when I have to use the information and inference where my line is going to go and use my decision making to understand how to place a line. Most of them I can follow the rules of just parallel lines. But some of them I have to be a little bit creative, like right there. See that this lightning bolt again? I have this thickness I established. So to know where to chop off this one, I'm just going to make it that same thickness. Right, all the way around. Even though there was no way to know exactly where to connect it, I was able to just be like, this should be the same thickness as that, the same as that. Use that information. Curve back, right? Just taking that little section of line, moving it to the end. And the last one, this one's kind of complicated, but the same idea. I'm going to follow the zigzag all the way across wherever I start. So I'm going to start there, that angle matches that one. It's going to come down, very steep angle, up, down again. Oh, that's a little bit off, so adjust. That comes out, down, out. That one's long and down. Where it hits there, it comes straight across. Okay. So you see what I'm doing? I'm matching the angles, parallel each section. And now I have all of my shapes floating in space. Okay. If something seems a little bit off, try and figure out each individual thing. Usually it's a small correction. You don't have to like retry the whole thing, or send me a picture of your work and just let me know. Say, hey, I think something's a little bit off. Can you take a look at this? And then I'll leave you a comment and some feedback on how to improve your work. Right? So that is phase 1 of our perspective final. Get your drawing up to here, and then I'll show you phase 2.